All right, YouTube. So one video I wanted to do today, I've done a lot of like OTF knives and stuff like that recently because I think they're cool and, who doesn't like a good Microtech or something like that, or a Heretic or Hogue. There's a lot of cool OTFs out there you can play with. But, you kind of go through fads where you're carrying one knife for a while and you're totally into one thing, and then you kind of get, maybe it's just out of boredom. You say, I want to play with something different. So just start thinking about, if you can only carry like one knife, and that was kind of like your go-to knife for everything. Would you carry one of these? And some might, and I think this is great for a lot of things. Could certainly be used as a weapon if you had to, and they are more durable than maybe I and others have given them credit for. I've seen videos of people taking these and hammering them into a 2x4, and an OTF, if it's built properly, can actually hold up pretty well. But I don't think it would hold up to like a good solid folding knife. So if you think about a knife that fits in the palm of your hand, and also this, at least this OTF is kind of skinny. So there's times where it's kind of slick and maybe wouldn't grip in your hand as well under really hard use. It would probably have some hot spots. So not knocking it. I mean, I like these. I've got a lot of them and spent good money on them. So I'm not in any way, being derogatory towards them. But I think it, if you're going to carry like a one knife to kind of do everything, what would you get? Would you get more of a value knife, or if you're going to spend money on like a good, what you consider kind of a premium folder, what would you get? So I kind of looked through what I had in the category, and I came up with three that I think are probably really my favorites for go-to kind of heavy-duty knives. So first one is a steel will, and steel will's got some great blades, and what I really like about them, I've said in other videos, is that they've got a premium line that uses more S35VN, M390, some of those types of steels with G10 and titanium and much better quality. Well, the quality's there, but much better materials, I should say. But they've also got, their value lines, like the Cut Jack, which is an FRN handle, D2 blade, finger choil. It's a flipper, very smooth action, very little effort, flies right out. It's got a nice belly, good slicing blade, thin, really cool blade for, $47. They've got the Modus, which again, D2, FRN, different design. Instead of having a drop point, it's got more of, is this a Warncliffe or a sheep's hoof? Some of the shapes, I'm not entirely sure which one's which. I know there's subtle differences. That might be a Warncliffe design, but that's their Modus. And again, this is around 50 bucks. And so this is going up against and competing against like the Kershaws and the CRKTs and some of those other entry-level knives, which some of those are fine, but frankly, for 50 bucks, these, the Ontario Rat series, these blow most of the Kershaws. Kershaws, I think, used to be like the go-to value knife, and they've got some interesting designs, and their launch series are great. I'm not knocking Kershaw, but I think in a lot of ways, just like Gerber and some other brands, they outsourced other countries, and they just kind of let the quality go down, and they don't feel as complete. They don't feel as well built, and they don't use as nice of materials as what you can get from a company like Steel Will. So these are very cool little pocket folders. If you're on a budget, pick up one of these. Cut Jack's awesome. Got good jimping. It's not abrasive. The handle's a little thin, but it fills the hand nicely. Works with a reverse grip as well. It's a good little blade. But anyway, that's just a little bit about Steel Will, because the one I actually want to talk about, as far as you're kind of more premium, I don't want to say high end, because these aren't like, $800 pocket knives or something. It's not a Chris Reeve or something. But when you start getting into more the premium level, when you're in the 100 to 200 range, more around the 150 range, and one of these is going to be a bit higher, you're going to see, what kind of knife you can get. So from Steel Will, this one I've been digging a lot. I actually got this at the Blade Show last year. But I never really carried it, because around that time I bought my first OTF, and I've been just kind of dicking around with those and liking those. But when I look at this has their new Antlock, which is, it looks like it operates slightly like the Axis lock. When you look at it internally and you look at how it works, it is nothing like it. It's completely different, other than having a button that slides side to side. Instead of going up and down, it goes this way, but the mechanism is completely different. This is not a ripoff of the Axis lock from Benchmade. But this uses M390. It's got a really cool clip point, great belly, very high flat grind, great little slicer. I don't know if you can see, hopefully my iPhone will tune in or focus in a bit. All the edges here are perfectly radiused and round. There is no sharp edge there. Now, maybe that would be a problem if you wanted to use a fire striker. You don't have that sharp edge. But as far as handling this knife, I mean, everything about it is just rounded, sculpted, smooth. There are no hot spots on this. This thing is just molded right to your hand. It's got a finger choil with some slight jimping here, not abrasive, but enough to keep your thumb where it is, where you can really choke up. These, I want to say, was like around 160 or something at the Blade Show. Really cool design, like the liner, has a lanyard hole. It is right side carry only. The clip is not reversible, and you're going to see that on a lot of the steel wheel knives. They may, because of the way they put the clip and the handle's curved, you can't just flip that over here because it would not follow that curve. It would be the opposite. Some of the new knives actually come with holes drilled on both, and it's got the clip will, they come with a second clip that's curved properly for this side. This one isn't like that, so sorry lefties, but I'm not a lefty, so this works for me. But it's a nice smooth opening. It's not as fast as some of the other ones I'm about to show you that literally just fly open with a little bit of a flick. But it's got a nice detent. It's nice and smooth. You don't have to do a real hard whip or anything like that. You can pretty much just flick it with your thumb, and it's a really good solid lockup. There is nothing. There's no side to side wiggle. There is no front to back. It almost feels as solid as a damn fixed blade. But it's like I want to say that's a 3.5 inch blade, M390, G10, nice pocket clip. It's not a super high, low ride. The tip does stick out there, but I think just with the way they mounted it there's really no other way they could have done that, but that's fine. Most people carry knives nowadays in their pockets, so it's not a big deal if someone sees a little bit of a knife poking out. But really nice, really solid design, very clean. That's a great slicer. That's a great knife. I've been carrying this one lately more than anything, including the OTFs. So we'll just leave that one out. That is the steel wheel Tasso, whatever. The next one that's about the same price, and everybody will probably agree on this, Spyderco Paramilitary 2. It's got, forget what they call that damn lock, compression lock? Sounds right. Compression lock, S30V blade, so good blade steel. I don't know if I think the M390 is probably technically better than that, but it's up in that range of who cares. It's a good blade steel. It holds an edge. It sharpens fairly easy. This one is reversible pocket clip for tip up, tip down, or left or right. So lefties are in luck. Just flies out. I don't even think this is ball bearings. I think these are bronze phosphor bushings, but really good blade shape. I mean, talk about ergonomics. It looks goofy. Spyderco's always look goofy, but when you hold this in your hand, that is probably the best fitting, at least for my hands. All the contours go right to your hand. This arch here is perfect and matches the arch of most people's palms. The way that ramp is there, it's not really abrasive, but there's a thumb stop. I mean, you've got a finger choil there that also has jimping and keeps your finger away from that blade. You could really push this into something. This is a super sharp point. It is a flat grind all the way up to the top. This thing is just a phenomenal slicer. I think most people would agree that if you're gonna spend on a mid-range, kind of considered premium folding knife as a do-everything knife, you got to consider a Paramilitary 2. And if that's too big, there's a Para 3 that's a little bit smaller, but super fast action, super light knife, very thin. You can configure it any way you want. You got a lanyard hole there. Great blade steel, perfect blade for piercing and slicing. And like I said, you could choke up on it and do some really fine work. So that would have to be, I think, considered. The other one is a Microtech, but it's not an OTF. It's a SOCOM Elite. So I bought this on a whim. I think I paid a little over $300 for it. It is a brilliant knife. I've never felt a folding knife. I am putting almost no pressure. There's that detent that holds the blade in place really securely, but this thing glides so smooth. It is unreal. And that is just a slight little push. I mean, if you give it a fast push, it opens as fast as an automatic. It slams home with authority. Got a very stout frame. I guess that's considered a liner lock. This is 204P, which I believe is the American equivalent of Bowler M390. So definitely a premium blade steel. Man, is that thing pointy. You've got jimping, I think this is T6 aircraft aluminum with these inserts, which are almost like hockey tape, like grip tape or skateboard tape. It is just a phenomenal, this is a good weapon. I think out of all of these, certainly any of these would make a decent, if you had to use a weapon for knife for defense. But this, I think, is more geared toward that. I think just the blade steel, the way the handle's shaped, You've also got a glass breaker and a lanyard hole. But this thing, I mean, that is some thick blade steel. This thing has no wiggle. The blade centering on this is exactly perfect. Even when you take, I did a video where maybe I saw a video where when you take this out, typically the pressure of the lock pushing against the blade, when this isn't clamping the blade in place securely, it pushes the blade off center. This thing doesn't. Like, you could remove that and just keep the ones back here, and it keeps the blade centered. It flies open. It doesn't even affect how it's used if you were to loosen that. It's insane how good this is. I would say, though, as an everyday carry knife, it's a little on the large side. But if you couldn't carry a firearm and you wanted something that could, open boxes and cut zip ties and do stuff, but then also, work as a defensive weapon, I think out of these three, you'd have to pick this one. But I think that also takes away from it, for kind of like an EDC. I brought it out just because I like it. It's a cool knife and it kind of fits in these categories. But, I've got Swiss Army knives. I've got tons of the fronts. I've got side opening, automatics and stuff. But I think if you're in a state that doesn't allow automatics, but you need a good quality folder that can do just about anything, I think these are at least two of the best that I've got. I'm sure everybody else has their own opinions, and that's fine. And I really like the SOCOM Elite. I just don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this one long term. I don't know that I really have ever carried this one. I mean, I think I have once. But it's just kind of big. When you pull that out to use it to open a box, people do look at you a little funny. If you're pulling out a pocket knife or you've got a little cut jack here or something like that, no, people don't tend to think that much of it. But when you see this with the high contrast blade, and it just looks like it means business, and it does. That this is a kind of a purpose designed blade for a given application, and it's not opening Amazon packages. That's not what it was designed for. So the other thing is, I think it's almost like too nice to carry, because you're gonna scratch the shit out of it. You're gonna get your car keys on it, and some people are like, "Oh, it's a tool, use it," And I do use my knives. I mean, I use them all the time. I do take care of them. I'm not one of those dicks that sits there and, "Oh, let me try to use it as a screwdriver," and then they break the tip off. That's an improper use of a tool and a waste of a good knife. So I'm not stupid with it. But I don't know. You pay $300 for something and it's beautiful and anodized. I get why people collect these, and why I think a lot of microtech owners get the reputation of, they're like safe queens. It's like having that perfect, tricked out $1,200 Glock, but you don't want to take it to the range and shoot it because you're worried it'll hurt the resale value. I get the feeling, like I almost feel like I wouldn't really carry this around, because I'm like, that's just a really nice knife. And frankly, for what I'm going to use it for, I'd be more likely to use these that are still pricey, but half the price. And I'm not going to be as upset, I think, if I ding it up and it looks like shit. But then maybe that's just me. But really cool knife. But get the Tassos. I've actually got one on order from Steelwell, their new Avior, which looks to take a knife kind of like this. The blade's a little different. It's not, it's going to be D2 steel, so it's going to be closer to these in specs, but it does have G10 handles and things, so it's kind of in between. But it's a similar design, but even better ergonomics and stuff. I'm really excited to try that one out. And it's right around the $69 mark, so really great. I'll do a video of those, that one next week when it comes out. But these are my two favorites for kind of an everyday but quality. You want a good knife. There's also like the Benchmade Osprey and some others that I just don't have that would probably be on that list. But that's what I've got, and this is what I like. Pair of two. And I don't know why. This one's a little heavier and it doesn't open quite as fast as that. But there's something just about that shape. It lends itself. It just fits my hand. I really like that. It's a really cool blade. So Steelwell Tasso, Paramilitary 2 would be my two favorite picks. And then if you wanted to splurge and don't care about nicking the blade or nicking the finish up and stuff, one of these. If you're going to carry like a defensive knife, I don't think you could do a whole lot better than one of these. That is the Microtech SOCOM Elite.